Yo, people, what's up? This is Malcolm Extreme. Do you remember Avengers Endgame? I remember Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, seeing a bunch of Marvel movies in theaters. It was a great time. I was looking for things to react, and I found a video on IGN's channel, Avengers Endgame. We'll never see anything like it again, and I actually believe him. I want to see what this video is about. Go ahead and react to it, shall we? I remember this in theaters, man. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Is Endgame the last Avengers ever? High up. Something people really wonder.
Yeah, I was thinking like the thing that happened with I think it was Jonathan Majors. That's his name, right? He played Kang. I really liked his character. I thought he died stupidly in Ant-Man Quantumania. Spoiler alert. But him as a villain, him and his presence as a villain actually worked. It's unfortunate that that whole fiasco happened with him, that he got dropped from Marvel. Avengers Endgame, however, I thought was just peak. Absolute peak.
The last one was so good, so will there be more? In reality, no.
I don't think so.
It won't be the last.
Exactly.
From a certain point of view, yeah, it'll be the last one like it. Not possible.
Yeah, because the cinematic experience that Avengers Endgame had was off the charts.
Not possible for us,
it was just wonderful.
The audience, to be in that exact mindset again either. There are certainly other viable ways to different kinds of successes Marvel can take, but Avengers Endgame is something else.
Yeah.
It stands singularly
iconic,
as the best and biggest cinematic superhero achievement ever made. This isn't another "How Marvel Sucks Now" video. Oh no, this is due praise for the
it honestly should be though, because Marvel Endgame was its peak, and now it's just like this. It's just every fucking way.
5 years old. It's been the same amount of time as the blip between the premiere and now. This is how long the ones who got left behind were working on it.
Oh, it's a normal speed.
Hold on. How tired they were. Marvel did something truly legendary with this. And it isn't that they're incapable of making another smash hit. No, it's that Avengers Endgame is the greatest superhero movie of all time, and it simply can't be recreated in that
I honestly believe that too.
In a bottle, we simply can't replicate the magic that led up to the perfect culmination of Avengers Endgame.
Like, I think Marvel, when it started, did everything right. When it came to building their cinematic universe from the ground up, and towards every climactic moment that it had in theaters and in the story as well, leading up to Thanos.
On the other hand, is the far more emotional and vulnerable movie of the pair. This is the back half after a major defeat, so at its core, Endgame deals with the stakes and repeatedly reminds us of just how high they are. An exuberant audience went into Avengers Infinity War hyped as hell and walked out wondering how they were going to fix the world the movie ended up in, just as much as the characters were in that moment. By focusing on quiet and largely internal struggles and feelings, we were able to connect to these characters.
That's one thing. I think why some people didn't like Endgame as much as Infinity War is because it was a lot more somber in the beginning and not as loud. You know, it didn't have. It was a lot more quiet, and people were trying to figure things out in the beginning of Endgame.
Not a given. Things don't fix themselves just because they're supposed to, and that there is a real suffering in the aftermath of failure.
Yeah. That was a great scene, by the way. I think Robert Downey Jr. acted his fucking ass off in this movie. He acted his ass off in this movie. Like, he is a great actor. Like, when it comes down to it, Robert Downey Jr. stole a lot of scenes within the Marvel universe. And I heard they're trying to bring him back, which is kind of weird. They really need to do something to save the MCU at this point, because everything has been downhill. I don't know if it's superhero fatigue or what. All the woke stuff, superhero fatigue. It's a culmination of almost everything at this point, really.
And rock bottom repeatedly. First, we have Hawkeye channeling his anger into actual murder.
Hawkeye was good in this movie.
And there is Captain America leading grief counseling and giving warm platitudes, but not having much greater purpose than that. These are the great.
It was good to see Captain America sort of fit into society too.
And then we have Thor. He'd always been the golden boy, literally a god. The role of Thor
Yes.
gave Chris Hemsworth a star in 2011, and he grew as an actor in step with Asgard's favorite son. We watched him lose battles, win battles, lose Jane, find a friend in Loki, lose Asgard, lose his birthright, lose most of his people, and lose his entire family, including Loki.
Thor had a lot of good character development.
We saw him get back up,
in my opinion. He had a lot of good character development.
And then we saw him lose to Thanos tremendously twice, and finally lose himself after failing to stop the worst possible outcome. Thor, on a monumental losing streak, devolves into what many of us might do when we're feeling like huge pieces of
Yeah, he got fat. He got fat, but yo, it really played into the Thor going downhill.
In Endgame, what does
Him having his lowest point, like she said.
In a scene out of Thor: The Dark World. Amazingly, Endgame was able to redeem one of the MCU's worst movies in this scene by connecting it to the high emotional stakes. Widow cries over a peanut butter sandwich.
Oh yeah, that's right. Black Widow had a lot of emotional scenes too. I really like that they did that with her character. It shows like even though she's like a really like dark just killer, like assassin and everything, she found a family in all of the Avengers, and it really hurt her when everything went downhill and they lost that war. You know?
Which he's best at and hold everything together, but getting nowhere with no means and no way to even know how to fix it. You can plan and train, you can have the best technology in the world at your fingertips and do everything in your considerable ability possible, but still fail.
Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Remember that shit.
No less immune to those levels of depression and feelings of impotent rage and hopelessness. It's really amazing how much time this movie spends on hopelessness. It's nearly 1/3 of the whole thing. And that's the big reason why Avengers Endgame is so striking. It never lets you forget the stakes and why this has to work, because there truly, finally, is no other option. The movie really hammers home that victory is not guaranteed, happiness is not a given, and that uncertainty is a reality you can live in indefinitely. At least for a while, Endgame leaves its characters wondering if they can ever be happy or feel right in the world again. Remember, as the scenes with Scott Lang's return show, everyone in the world really thought the people who were dusted into action.
I think that's another thing that people were kind of turned off by, like how miserable it was in the beginning as well when it came to the movies. Like you didn't really have that spark of hope until Tony actually did something to like have a solution for everything, like making that time machine. Like nobody really had a spark of hope. Like even I was kind of confused of where the movie was gonna go, and I usually don't like time skips in movies, but they did like a 5-year time skip, and that really confused me. I didn't know where the movie was gonna go. I didn't know how things were gonna play out, which led to like the surprising revelations that later come into the movie.
Probably never come back and were likely dead forever. You don't build Marvel memorial parks for people you expect to see again. The characters didn't have the benefit of hindsight, only from soaking in the failure, the misery, and despair.
You never know. You never knew what to expect.
As good as it did in the most powerful scene in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, that scene was kick-ass in the theaters, man. Hearing everybody just freak out. Like when the circles, when the portals started opening and everybody started coming through.
I cried watching it then and on my computer monitor just now. It's that special.
It's great. Yeah, that's a really good scene. Everything came together. All the heroes came together to fight. That was just a brilliant scene in Marvel.
It really seems like there isn't. And knowing that means simply everything. Sometimes just a chance is more than sufficient. It's your wildest dream realized. Facing real evidence that you're not alone, feeling support, feeling there will be a hand to help you up, and realizing just
you know what? It's okay. I'm gonna stop it. Real quick. Everybody said this moment in the movie was stupid, and they were just hammering home. I guess now it kind of makes sense because now they're really hammering home the whole MCU. Like people call it the MCU now because of how highlighted, how forefronted the superhero women are now. But like I didn't really dislike this scene in the theaters. I was like, you know what? Everything was so good. Everything was done so well. Like this moment in the movie didn't bother me as much. So I just kind of let it slide. But now it just got crazy.
There will be a hand to help you up, and realizing just how resilient the will to live is.
But honestly, I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna pause it again. Sorry, but what the hell was Mantis gonna do? Like, what was she gonna do in this war on this war front? Like seriously.
Alone, feeling support, feeling there will be a hand to help you up, and realizing just how resilient the will to live is, despite the odds, is exhilaratingly captured.
Oh, Wanda was crazy in this scene.
I don't think this level of emotionality.
The scene with Wanda
can be repeated again.
solidified my love for the character. And then I actually like what they did with Wanda afterwards.
For one cause, the biggest cause, side by side. Is it corny to call characters your friends? probably, but how else can you feel after spending years, just so many hours following
Yeah.
them and empathizing on their journeys?
Dude, I did not like Captain. I realized like Captain America's suit
there were many ways to
in the first Avengers was kind of bad. In all honesty,
they also built the plane and invented a new kind of plane that flew higher, further, faster than any other plane. But I digress. There is a lot of fan service inherent in a movie with a huge cast and time travel as a central concept, but this too took every opportunity to make an emotional experience. From Steve longingly seeing
and time travel is really like iffy in movies. I love Back to the Future though. Back to the Future is classic time travel. Don't even get me started.
All in one movie. Thor got to hold his head high, Steve got to pass the torch and redo his time with the love of his life, and Tony died after living a complete, full, and generous life after a full arc transformation into
No, I was kind of surprised. I felt like the moment Tony got a kid, they actually should have introduced Riri Williams into here. Hey, hold on.
He could be his life, but transformation into it.
Like they actually should have introduced Riri Williams into this, because like it would have kind of made sense. You know, Tony was older, Pepper Potts was older. If they adopted a kid instead of Pepper Potts being like, how old is Gwyneth Paltrow, guys? Honestly, how old is Gwyneth Paltrow? She has to be in her 40s, bro. Like, I would see, like, a couple involving Tony Stark and Pepper Potts adopting a kid, and then them adopting Riri Williams as their kid, and that's how she kind of becomes Iron Man. That would have been better than them actually having a kid of their own, in my opinion. I know in the comics, Riri Williams actually, I believe, know her parents, at least her mom. So, I don't know how they would have done that storyline.
2008 Iron Man never dreamed he could be. And that's just 3 characters of the many, many long-standing heroes we've watched over several years and sequels. Sometimes it's easy
Dude, that's a really good scene too. Them contemplating how to go back.
It is, but the Marvel Studios
and when to go back.
Meticulously planned and built for over a decade to produce the exact result of Endgame. Another reason this movie can't be repeated is all the work, all the strokes of good luck that went into doing it from the foundation up will never have all those pieces in those places in that order. Again,
yes, exactly. They just set them up for they set themselves up for success so well. Marvel set themselves up for success really well early on.
Regarding any single movie.
Unlike
Another
DC.
important piece of context is while this is at surface the culmination of the Infinity Saga, it's in actuality the culmination of building an empire, and that empire is on the back of one man in particular, Robert Downey Jr.
Yep, Iron Man. I believe that scene was in The Incredible Hulk. No, that was in the first Iron Man movie.
At Comic-Con 2007, it changed everything. Was I physically present? No, of course not. That was 16 years ago. That was when the world first became aware of what Marvel Studios could actually do, and no one could have guessed how far the Marvel machine would go.
It's crazy.
The only YouTube footage of this moment is at best 240p quality, but even though it's grainy and barely higher resolution than a calculator.
Oh my god. Dude, no way.
Switched culturally forever.
That's crazy.
We just didn't know the totality of it yet.
Just the earliest trailer.
Starring Jessica Alba and some unknown guy as her brother as the standard for what superhero movies could be were over. Robert Downey Jr. as a punchline was officially over. The scale was about to change in a big way most of us couldn't have ever guessed.
You gotta respect Robert Downey Jr. Like, he was a drug addict. I think my dad told me a story about how, like, they found him asleep in someone else's bed or some shit. He broke into a house and they found him asleep in someone's bed or some shit, bro. And like, it's crazy being just a drug addict like that, going clean and just coming back. I mean, we've had success stories like that. We had Steve-O, you know, Steve-O. I saw his I know this is all just completely off topic. Steve-O from Jackass. Man, he had his documentary Rise and Demise with Steve-O. And man, the shit you should have seen him do as far as drugs go is crazy. And like Robert Downey Jr. coming back, greatest comeback in history.
Marvel Studios was known more for licensing in films like 2000's X-Men, the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, and Fantastic Four. Not amazing films, but definitely.
Oh shit!
After all, Marvel Entertainment Group had filed for
that actually looked kind of crazy.
A little more than a decade earlier. Then they set their sights on producing and self-financing movies. The character itself was tossed around different studios and film iterations since 1990, with actors like Nicolas Cage and Tom Cruise attached to the role at various times. Now that's a what if for you.
That is crazy.
By 2005, Marvel Studios allegedly got turned down by 30 writers to write Iron Man, according to associate producer Jeremy Latcham. Jon Favreau signed on to direct. He begged for RDJ to be cast as the lead. The studio said no. He pushed harder and got Kevin Feige on board. They eventually said yes. And you know
that was
the
the best
story.
decision.
Actor,
Best decision ever.
Everybody waved off, make something magical in that first Iron Man movie. And then they followed that up with more magic, with a sequel, with Thor next, Captain America next, sequels moving back and forth until the first Avengers movie.
Yeah, man, that suit for Captain America was actually kind of corny. But
into an even bigger story. They created the idea.
I would say I like the transition to a more like a military uniform for Captain America. It works better.
Enough how perfect Robert Downey Jr. is as Tony Stark. With his real-life highs and lows, falls and climbs, and undeniable talent, gumption, and charisma wrapped often in chaos, and the occasional cheeseburger, there really was no better suited actor for the role. This saga, with its apex point in this movie, is the ultimate expression of this character, this man, and how far not only he, but Marvel itself have come and grown to meet. Avengers Endgame is the worthy end to the absolutely unbeatable performance of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Yeah, they should have definitely ended, at least taken a break on the Marvel universe, but no, Disney, they're so obsessed with just printing money that they completely let the property go to shit. Not only in the cinematic space, but they've let it go to shit in the comic space as well, because there's a lot of people that read the comics, and the comics have been absolutely diluted. You might find a gem here and there, but like the way you hear about like certain people like Richard, Ripper, the Ripperverse, when you hear them talk about like the Marvel comics, Ethan Van Sciver, you know, I watch them. I'm not a huge comic reader. I have some comic books. I'm not a huge comic reader, but they would point out different things they're doing in like Marvel comics, DC comics, just rolling them down a hill of shit. Like it's a slow snowball of shit, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it hits something or someone and it just obliterates everything. It's horrible to see it go downhill, but like this was peak. Endgame was peak. Endgame is where they should have ended it, where they should have taken a break on like Marvel in general and maybe focused on like more original ideas. I feel that's the way Disney should have gone, the way Marvel in general should have gone. That was beautiful. Beautiful.
Under all its trappings, is based on a fairly simple concept centered on one.
Dude, I almost cried in theaters. No lie.
Not a time heist, mind you. No, this is a movie about the concept of time as an inexorable, undeniable concept. You can deny it and wither and die, becoming nothing. You can also do the best you can with what you have, no matter how meager or unguaranteed it is, and make it mean as much as possible before you wither and die. You're withering and dying no matter what. I can't overstate this. It's a lesson Tony Stark understands more and more throughout the movie. He believes he will die pathetically of suffocation. Then he decides he only wants to live life for himself and his family. Then he sees the possibility and takes a risk, perhaps mostly out of intellectual curiosity. Then, consequently, Tony sees that attitude in action and in himself via his own dad.
Just overall good character development. That's just overall just great character development for Tony Stark in the cinematic universe.
Marvel, from even earlier, from Doctor Strange, how many times had Tony Stark barely survived something to only get brought back at the last moment, as if he was still needed, as if his purpose hadn't yet come?
Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
The time he has left as well as he can, and not just for his own needs.
That was a great scene too. You know, another good thing that Endgame does well is tying everything. It just tied everything together so perfectly.
The lives we live aren't things to be taken for granted, the movie posits. We should love as hard as we can, enjoy and feel every good moment, and use our strengths instead of sitting on our hands out of preservation or fear. Because the other thing Avengers Endgame is about, under the umbrella of time, is goodbyes. Painful, but wholly necessary goodbyes. Every story must end, whether we want it to or not.
That shit was sad, man.
You can deny it and run from it, but it will happen whether you lock eyes with it or not. Avengers Endgame turns and faces this eventuality head-on, making purposeful goodbyes on its own terms. Steve says goodbye by giving up his known existence to live a normal, happy life with the woman he always loved. Bruce says goodbye to his inner strife.
Yeah. So, okay, okay, I'm gonna talk about one thing about. I don't like what they did with the Hulk. I honestly don't. After seeing Thor Ragnarok, I don't like what they did with the Hulk. I thought what they did with him in Ragnarok was great because like the Hulk had his own personality, like he always does. It's like the Hulk is a separate being from Bruce Banner. There's the same person in general, but like the Hulk has a separate personality. You know, he's more angry. He has a different attitude. It's almost like he's a whole different person, a whole different soul. And I like what they did with him in Thor Ragnarok. That was great. And then they just completely erased him in Thor Endgame. But another good thing about how they did him in Endgame, at least I could say as a caveat, he didn't seem as strong. You know, he was like Bruce Banner. He pretty much Bruce Banner taken over the Hulk form, and he's not as strong as the Hulk in general.
Purposeful goodbyes on its own terms. Steve says goodbye by giving up his known existence to live a normal, happy life with the woman he always loved. Bruce says goodbye to his inner strife. Thor faces a new future as the man he is instead of the man he should be. Natasha and Tony say goodbye through meaningful deaths. It's not common for a superhero movie, of all things, to drag you through despair, but to ultimately deliver warmth, solidarity, real and deep feelings of triumph, and ultimately resolve and acceptance. And that's part of what makes Endgame so meaningful. When we say Avengers Endgame is the greatest superhero movie that cannot be topped, it's partly because it was designed that way.
Yes.
This movie is a crescendo to a story that literally took 22 movies to make. Who else has done that? No one. Avengers Endgame answers the question of why any of this happened. And
I know I keep saying it, but that is peak, literally peak of the MCU.
Moments in the MCU as a whole, and so in this capper to a history-making saga of movies, we do experience that whole spectrum. Though, much more importantly, Endgame highlights the finiteness of time, of life, and underlines through one former C-lister just how important it is that we use our time well. A man using his brain to make a metal shell that helps him do better and bigger stuff is like any person trying to reach and hopefully extend past what they may believe is their own limit.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's all about? Ideally, to have a life realized, time well spent, and for all the emotional and mental...
You can tell this girl kind of... It feels like this girl wants to break down in tears talking about this movie.
In essence, is why Avengers Endgame was and remains the best superhero movie ever made. Thanks for watching.
That was a good video, IGN.
Everything Marvel, keep it right here.
I guess you can make good videos every once in a while, huh? But yeah, Endgame. Peak of Marvel. Great movie overall. Some people like Infinity War a little bit more, but I honestly really do think Endgame was just the perfect wrap-up for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They like I said before, they really should have taken a break from Marvel after making Endgame. Yeah, I do say that. I feel like they've completely went off the rails with all this stuff. Like, it's really just superhero fatigue at this point. Different woke things like here and there. I don't think it's all overall woke. I mean, to be fair, I stopped watching like maybe 80% of any of the Marvel content that's been coming out. I haven't watched What If. I haven't watched She-Hulk. I haven't watched Hawkeye. I haven't watched what else has come out? I haven't watched Echo. I haven't watched the Eternals. I haven't watched a lot of shit that Marvel's has come out with. To be fair, and I probably saved myself a lot of heartache by watching Secret War. I haven't watched that. And yeah, they should have just taken a break. I heard Blade is coming out. I heard they're doing a Blade movie, doing a Kraven the Hunter movie on Sony's side. Sony is just a whole nother beast when it comes to Marvel movies. So I wonder what they're gonna do with the whole Spider-Man franchise. But yeah, check out this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you read the comics, if you watched any of the new shows, what you think about the new shows. Yeah, Avengers Endgame. We'll definitely never see anything like it again. Comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, guys.